Hey, what is up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Igloo Cinema, and this week we went and watched The Amazing Spider-Man 2, starring Andrew Garfield, Emma Stone, and many other guys together and stuff.
Jamie Foxx.
So, yeah. Oh, Jamie Foxx. Yeah, he's a cool guy. He's also in this movie.
I think Sally Field was in there.
Yeah, Sally Field, a bunch of
Harry
dudes
Osborn's
and stuff.
actor name.
Yeah. So, Amazing Spider-Man 2 is about a guy in a Spider-Man suit with spider powers and an electric dude who can shoot thunder and shit.
But the CEO of
CEO of like a company who's crazy. He has like a emo haircut and stuff. So yeah, that's the synopsis. If you want to know the proper synopsis, it's gonna be in the description box down below. But yeah, let's continue on to the review. So Amazing Spider-Man 2. Like every other review, we're going to take turns talking about what we liked and what we didn't like, and that's going to be the review. So, I guess I'll start. So, Amazing Spider-Man 2, you know, I really liked the first Amazing Spider-Man.
The first Amazing Spider-Man.
I thought, you know, Andrew Garfield was a perfect Peter Parker.
Reboot Parker.
I liked how independent the female lead was, Gwen Stacy, played by Emma Stone. The villain could have been better. But I liked where they were going with the story, where they're hinting at Peter's father's past and stuff like that. So it was a great entry. So I was really hyped for this one, especially with the trailers and stuff. But I did have some issues like with the trailers because it seemed like they were putting too many villains in the movie. But I'm gonna talk about that when I talk about the stuff I didn't like. So what I did like was Andrew Garfield's back, Emma Stone's back, great acting. From both of those characters, chemistry is still there, which was transferred over from the first movie. Great chemistry. Sally Fields was amazing. Like all the actors, the actor who played Harry Osborn,
Dane DeHaan.
Him. He did amazing. Like the acting is top notch. I thought the fight scenes were really well done.
They're really well choreographed.
Very grand and crazy.
It was a spectacle.
It was a spectacle. Really funny. I thought it was very humorous. And that's about it with what I liked. What I didn't like was the fear I had from the trailer. Too many villains. The villains, you know, the Amazing Spider-Man universe is not good at making villains.
Yeah, as evidenced by this movie.
As evidenced by this movie.
The previous one.
You know, Electro's like pushed to the side. His motivations are very offhand. Like you don't really...
They're kind of random.
They're random, like they don't make much sense, or they would make sense if they developed the character more. I mean, I just felt like let's introduce this guy and then that's it. Let's talk about Peter's past and shit. And like, I like Peter's past, but I felt like, you know, I feel like Mark Webb made his Spider-Man universe too complicated. There's too much stuff going on. That, you know, they kind of fucked themselves. They have to explain all this stuff in the span of all these movies.
There's a lot of explaining.
And the consequence is the villains are shit. Like they don't have.
They run out of time.
There's no room to expand the villains. I'm not a fan of the suits. Still. I mean, when the final trailer came out, I was like, oh, the suit, maybe I'm bought. But then, like, when the movie, I'm not cool with the suits still. Like, it just doesn't. It doesn't go along with the aesthetic of these new movies. They feel more. They feel different. So the villains, the movie's all over the place, very rushed, and the only thing that holds it together is the acting. I feel like, and like you said, it felt like there was more Peter Parker than there was Spider-Man. It didn't feel like a Spider-Man movie. Sometimes it just felt like something was missing.
Romance movie.
It was really all over the place.
And like Gwen Stacy could have been in the movie a bit more too, and it just the problem was there was just too much stuff going on, and that really hindered the movie. So
I basically like the same stuff that you liked. I also really like they made like a new theme for Spider-Man. I thought that was really good. A lot more catchy because I don't remember any of the music from the first one. Some of the shots from New York were really nice. The battle scenes were really nice. Acting, especially Harry Osborn's acting, was amazing. Was well done, especially when he's like a nice diabolical villain, I'd say. Stuff I didn't like was the movie feels like it's like 2.5 hours or something, and it's like it goes by like that. Like everything is rushed. Like
yeah, but not in a good way.
Yeah, not in a good
Not
way.
in a good way.
Like there's one moment where Harry's like, "Oh yeah, like Peter's my bro," and then like 10 minutes later,
oh, you fucking betrayed me. What the fuck,
like,
man?
What happened?
Ridiculous.
What happened?
Crazy.
Like what happened in those 10 minutes? Like all the characters are just like, okay, this happens. All right, now you're like the opposite of that, and like the plot, like everything's too. I don't know how to feel that. Can I say like too together? Like it's too interconnected with each other, and it's like really complicated because they take a lot.
It's too complicated.
Yeah, they take a lot of time to explain it, and I feel like that kind of hinders the fact that there's more Peter than actual Spider-Man movie because they gotta explain everything.
Yeah, they're too focused on talking about Peter's father's past and like what's going on with all that stuff, and they forget that this is a movie.
Yeah.
Like this is its own movie.
It's not a comic book where you have like so many issues.
Yeah.
Like, a prequel issue where you can talk about the past and this and then like
it's
that.
It's like Iron Man 2.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
In
And they're setting everything up.
Yeah.
And there are certain scenes that were completely pointless. I don't even know why they put them in.
Especially like they put those. I know why they put those scenes in to make Electro seem more villainous than he is. But like they don't portray
it. Doesn't help.
Yeah, like it just seems so stupid, pointless. It doesn't make any sense. It just
like literally some of the battle scenes like last like 3 minutes and it's over.
It's just like let's go on to the next thing and then blah blah blah.
Like I feel like the villains were just there just because they had to be there.
Exactly. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Continue.
Okay.
Your turn.
Oh, thank you. Okay, so what I really liked was that the acting overall, again, is really good. I thought Sally Field really bought.
Yeah,
like,
there's
her
certain
agent.
scene that was really
this
good.
one scene between her character Aunt May and Peter Parker was like it hit me like right here.
Right,
feels.
And I thought the story between Peter and Gwen was very interesting because Gwen's not waiting around for Peter to not be Spider-Man to be with her. She has her own aspirations. She's this girl who she's going off to England as far away from Peter as possible, and he's stuck here because he has to be Spider-Man, and that's the choice he's taken. He's chosen to. That's his path. And I thought that's where like the good stories kind of ended because as soon as I started delving into like the background of OsCorp and like Richard Parker. I feel like I have to call him Exposition Parker now. Yeah. Because every time Richard Parker's on screen, he's explaining, "Oh, this is what happened. This is why I have to leave."
Peter's confused. Oh, let me just play this.
Let me
father.
Like,
Oh, it makes so much sense.
I just so happened to record it why I did all these things. And the story of like how they're building the universe is so I don't know, kind of sloppy.
Yeah.
Because how Marvel did it was they had lots of different movies and they separately kind of developed where each villain was coming from.
They slowly developed.
Yeah, exactly. This is when they're like, okay, so we have four. They've announced 4 movies. So this second one, we have to get into the fact that okay, there's gonna be the Sinister Six.
Yeah.
We have to introduce these villains at all at once. So let's put the Green Goblin, Electro, and Rhino in here. Rhino was in the movie for like half a minute.
Yeah.
And like the construction of the universe seems so flimsy.
And then we'll take care of some characters.
Yeah.
Get rid of some characters.
Yeah, exactly.
Add some characters and okay, the problem is remember in the first movie where they talked about how like they cut a lot of things.
Yeah.
That was exposition. I felt like they cut too many things and then they have to put it all in the second movie. Like they it's not evenly spread. Like, unlike the Marvel movies where they slowly progress, it's like the first movie give you some, and the second movie, here you go, take all this shit that we didn't give you in the first movie, and it was like, what the fuck?
And I also thought there was total inconsistencies because in the first movie it felt like I like how I described the first movie as an indie movie with some Spider-Man in it.
Right.
Like you understood Peter Parker, you understood Spider-Man. There was enough Spider-Man to satiate the action that it was talking about. In this one, it kind of fell all over the place because there was lots of Peter Parker. And I don't mind Peter Parker. I mean, all this stuff was interesting. But there wasn't enough Spider-Man to push the story forward.
And every time Spider-Man saw it, it was just, oh, I have to fight this guy.
Yeah, it's because he had to fight someone. Not because he's Spider-Man. And I felt like the movie deteriorated as it went on. Because the beginning, I was like, okay, we're starting fresh. He's Spider-Man now. And he's part of the city, and the cops have like accepted him, and the citizens have accepted him, so he's the savior now. But as the movie progressed, you kind of lost that.
Yeah, and another thing is, here's the problem: is okay, Spider-Man 2, like 2004, Spider-Man 2, talked about Peter battling his problem with being Spider-Man, responsibilities. And this one, it wasn't that he was battling with Spider-Man, it was battling with his father's past.
Yeah.
And like everything Peter Parker, like the Parker's problems.
Yeah.
Not him being a Spider-Man, because him being Spider-Man
it doesn't really matter.
It doesn't really matter to him. It doesn't conflict with his personal life. It doesn't, like, the Raimi Spider-Man's questioned, you know,
what are the consequences of being Spider-Man?
Yeah, like all those responsibilities. Yeah. And this one, it wasn't like that. It was just Peter puts on a suit sometimes and fights crime.
Yeah, sometimes it's Spider-Man, but it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, and then the things he's battling is his father's past.
Yeah. Well, at certain points, being Spider-Man affects his relationship with Gwen and Peter, but it doesn't really.
Yeah, it doesn't really.
Yeah.
Because Gwen already knows that he's Spider-Man.
So it doesn't really, like...
Yeah, and I just feel like the whole point of Spider-Man is the questioning of responsibility and powers, not, you know, Peter's dad.
With some crazy science.
With some science
we got
and
some
shit.
spiders with some DNA and
and it's just, why would you...
It's too much backstory.
It's too much, it's too much... The universe they're trying to build is too complicated for a Spider-Man movie where they're trying to emulate what Marvel Universe did. And they're planning on building a Sinister Six movie? How? Why? Yeah,
it's just like, slow down. Like, you just, I don't know.
Because Peter Parker's story hasn't been told yet. We don't know much about Parker. Yeah. In the first movie, we're talking about, okay, he's in high school, he's got problems to deal with, he's got Gwen Stacy, and he's being Spider-Man. That was tight. It was wound up very nicely. This one, it's kind of, he's Spider-Man, he's also Peter Parker. There's also, it just happened to be 3 villains on the loose. Yeah. And the villains don't matter. Electro, he shows up, he's like, okay, I love you, Spider-Man. And then 2 minutes later, oh no, I've got powers. I kind of hate you now. All of a sudden. I don't know why.
And I feel like it's not, the movie isn't Peter got powers and he's Spider-Man. It's Peter got powers and that's it.
Yeah.
Like his whole Spider-Man identity, like he could just be Peter Parker with the powers.
Yeah.
Like
they don't feel connected.
Yeah, the whole identity putting on the mask thing isn't really explored. It's not really anything that is that important. And I also feel like, you know, this movie, they tried making it more childish. Yeah. Like more pandering towards kids.
The tone was completely shifted from the first movie.
Yeah, which kind of threw me off because, like, I thought they were trying to, you know, turn a new leaf and go into a darker Spider-Man.
Because Mark Webb, he's a good director.
Yeah, and the first Spider-Man did seem like they were trying to make it darker.
Yeah, because he took elements from what he did with 500 Days of Summer, you know, being I don't know, a smaller story.
Right. Yeah. It felt like a smaller story. Yeah. Like you said, it felt like an independent teenage coming of age story.
That happened being Spider-Man.
Yeah, and this one I felt like they tried making it too mainstream. Yeah. And it's just not Mark's style.
Yeah, and they tried to throw like Spider-Man at you, like in the trailers. They're like, here, look at all this action Spider-Man's doing.
And they tried making it too grand, and that's just not how Webb should operate. I just don't feel like he does that well. Yeah. It just feels like
it's too big for him.
Yeah, and the same problem with Spider-Man 3. I feel like Raimi, you know, Webb, like Raimi, he oversteps his boundaries. Yeah. Like, there are only certain things that Raimi could do. There are certain things that Webb could do. And
there are only so much story you can incorporate before you start feeling lost.
And you would think that they learned from Spider-Man 3 that, you know, you should calm down. Like, you shouldn't put all this shit in this.
Like, you could have the greatest actors, and they were really good in this movie.
Yeah.
Like, given the script that they were and the story that they had to operate, the scenes they were in were fantastic.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. If you just go by scene, like the acting, it's great. And those scenes make me want to be like, oh, this movie's good. Yeah. But then when
you put everything else together,
when the story starts seeping in,
it dilutes all the acting. The goodness that they
have. Like you're like, oh yeah, Peter and Aunt May, and then like, oh right, there's this story going on.
There's Electro
walking around. My god, like it takes you out of the movie. And you're like, oh right, they're trying to make some stuff going on, and like, and the whole Harry Osborn and Norman Osborn thing.
I feel like the whole OsCorp thing is so extra.
Yeah, it does feel like extra, and like you were saying, they're trying to connect everything together. Yeah,
like, it just so happens that, Peter's dad was working on this, and because Norman Osborn did this, a consequence to this, and Harry just so happens to be there at the same time that Peter was. Like,
and like, you know, Harry, like the actor, great job, but like the character itself felt like
it was lacking something.
Yeah.
And also, there's this one scene with Norman Osborn, and I don't really understand that. Why?
He feels really useless. Like
in the first movie, they were like, "Oh, Norman Osborn's dying. We need to fix him."
Yeah.
And then that's why the lizard we needed him.
Yeah, and then now it's like, oh, forget all that. Yeah. Like Norman Osborn's a piece of shit.
Push him aside.
Forget Norman Osborn. We got Harry.
We got the Goblin.
Yeah, Harry fucking Osborn. Forget about Norman Osborn. And like, I didn't feel a connection between Harry and Peter either. I mean, they had one scene where I was like, oh, they're going somewhere with this, and then they don't.
I felt like they could have left the introduction of the Goblin to the next movie.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because if you just focus on Electro, give him a proper story, flesh them out, give him more scenes with the Spider-Man, and explore their relationship. Because clearly there is one.
Yeah.
Because Max is clearly obsessed with Spider-Man.
Exactly.
If you'd given them more scenes together, they would have fleshed out the story. You would have had a proper villain that Spider-Man could have fought with. And then you could introduce Goblin in the next one and have all that.
Exactly. And like Harry Osborn should have been the background story. Like,
exactly.
Just like something, there's something going on, but we're not really going to explore it because we want you to question it. And let's focus on the Electro thing because that's what is important for this movie.
That's the main
thing. Don't worry about the other movies because we're going to give you snippets
too
of
far
it.
Ahead.
Yeah, and like they could have at the end they could have shown Harry turn into Green Goblin and that's it.
Exactly.
And Peter not knowing. And then the third movie could be like, oh, Harry's trying to trick Peter and trying to he's this Green Goblin, Peter doesn't know, and Peter's Spider-Man, Harry doesn't know, and it could have been a good
dynamic
between this friendship, which clearly they're trying to portray, clearly they're trying to show, but they don't do it properly.
Yeah.
I feel like every time there's a certain conversation with the character, there's this one scene between Peter and Harry, it's more explaining the story, not to build their relationship.
So much exposition and it's, oh my god. That's just the main problem. It's just there's too much
to explain.
It's too complicated. They're taking themselves too seriously. Yeah. And I know, I said, I wanted them to be darker, but that doesn't mean that you should make it so complicated. I
know your name is Mark Webb. You don't gotta build a web of
I like The Dark Knight, my favorite movie of all time. It's dark, but the story's not complicated.
It's tight.
It's straightforward. This one is they're let's try this idea. Oh, also this idea.
They can't decide what they want to do.
They went to a board meeting and they're like, look at all these cool ideas. Let's throw them all in this pot.
Yeah, and somehow we're just gonna loosely put them together and hopefully it makes sense, but who cares? Because I feel like they're way too excited. They're we want to tell the story.
You know what this was? This movie was that interconnected thing Peter puts on his wall.
Yeah. It's this is so cool and
this is connected to this.
And I had a feeling they're let's put Electro, good idea. And then some guy's you know what? Green Goblin would be a good idea. And okay, not gonna spoil anything, but the whole reason Green Goblin is in this movie is to do what they do at the end of the movie.
Exactly.
Yeah.
To
push Peter.
Yeah.
To push Peter and do that thing that he does in the comics.
Yeah.
That and I just feel it just they put it there for no you're forcing it.
Yeah.
It's just they're doing it for the sake of doing it, not because of anything else. Mm-hmm. It was really forced and unnecessary. So overall, this was
it was a very conflicting movie.
Very conflicting movie. I mean, he had some really good elements in it.
Spider-Man is my favorite superhero.
Yeah, Spider-Man is a very
it's a very loved superhero.
Yeah, because he's very relatable.
Yeah. He's an every guy.
Yeah, and to see so many to make it so complicated, it's just not what Spider-Man is about.
They could have kept it at the core of being about Spider-Man.
Yeah, but they don't really do that. So I mean, it's a shame because there's so much great acting. Yeah. But it's just diluted by stupidness.
Extra crap.
And that's the complete opposite of, I feel the Raimi Spider-Mans, where I feel the story was really good, but the acting was okay.
Yeah.
But this one is the acting is amazing, but the story is just it's just bogging everything down. So okay, let's give our ratings after millions of years of talking about this.
Okay, here we
go. Personally, Amazing Spider-Man 2, I'm gonna give it a 6 out of 10. It's not a horrible movie. It has some redeeming factors, but it's just bogged down by unnecessary complications. Yeah. Too many villains, too much exposition, and they're just they're taking themselves too seriously with way too much story. So 6 out of 10.
Well, for me, this movie wasn't that bad. I don't mean it seem like it's the crappiest thing ever, but it's not that bad. I think the acting was amazing, which I think it redeems itself from that. But I'm gonna give it a 7 out of 10. It was too complicated for what Mark Webb was, I think, trying to do.
And what he's capable of.
Yeah. And it was too rushed, so 7 out of 10.
I'm gonna give it a 6 too.
6 too?
Yeah, because talking it over like this, you start to realize all these holes that it has.
Yeah.
Like,
and like that's the same thing as for Iron Man 3, because like
exactly.
Iron Man 3, the more we talked about it, it was just
bigger and bigger. Yeah.
So yeah, okay. So the average score for Amazing Spider-Man 2 was a 6.5 out of 10. Average movie. I would recommend you to watch it. Still, if you're not like,
if you're not like us,
if you just want to have a
like, if you want to have a good time,
yeah, just take your kids to watch it because I'm sure they're gonna have a good time. Spider-Man,
it's Spider-Man, but like if you're invested in the story,
like, if you're like, oh, if you watch the first one, I'm interested. Like I wouldn't. I don't
you're
know.
like really like specific, like us.
Like if you're really interested, oh my god, this could be amazing, and then like you might be disappointed. But if you're into like exposition 20 like every 5 minutes, I guess
you can.
But yeah, if you're a hardcore Spider-Man fan, I don't think you should watch this. Just
like if you know like everything about the comics and whatnot.
Yeah. Well, not even that, but it's just like if you're like excited for like the next best Spider-Man movie. Too. No, but if you're just having a good time, like
you're out with a bunch of friends or something.
Yeah, most likely you're gonna semi-enjoy it for something. So yeah, that's it for our review. Thank you guys for watching. If you guys like this video, please like it. Like it even more, please favorite. Like it even more, please share it. Subscribe to this channel for update content. Also subscribe to our personal channels. We have other stuff there too. And yeah, thank you guys for watching. We'll see you guys in the next Black Couch, Igloo Cinema, or whatever. Later. Spider-Man does whatever a spider can. Spins a web any size, catches thieves just like flies. Look out, here comes the Spider-Man. Is he strong? Listen, bud, he's got radioactive blood. Can he swing from a thread? Take a look overhead. Hey there goes the Spider-Man. Chill of night at the scene of the crime, like a streak of light, he arrives just in time. Spider-Man, Spider-Man, friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, wealth and fame he's ignored, action is his reward. To him, life is a great big bang, whenever there's a hang, you'll find the Spider-Man.